Hello everyone, Ed with Slow Car Fix, and today I'm going to make good on a promise that I made to a couple of people, and it's nothing crazy, but I'm just going to take my Corsa for a drive. I told people that when I got it that I'd take you for a drive once I had it sorted out, and it's pretty sorted. So let's do that. Before we go out there, it's kind of wash day, I guess. I've washed the ramp side because I'm going to take it to a local show. Had the 64 out last night. A lot of people commenting on the videos with that, you know, the older videos where I was still working on it. It's alive and well, everything's working. Had the Malibu out the other day, put it on the shelf for right now. You'll notice that the truck isn't here. You'll also notice something else. This is a new lift, new to me, thanks to my friend Jeff that I used to work with that put me in touch with that deal. So now I have another lift, so that's more storage, which is good. The Beetle is over on the other side. It's just parked over there. There's no work happening with it. That's pretty much it for an update in here. Let's go out and I'll show you the Corsa and maybe we'll take it for a drive. Okay, so this is my 66 Chevrolet Corvair Corsa. I just bought this car from a friend of mine that's had it a long time, and I'm very thankful that he sold it to me. It is an Oshawa built car, and they're pretty rare, and it doesn't really mean anything to anyone other than me or some other locals around here that seem to care about such things. Oshawa is about an hour from my house. It's kind of neat that it was built there. Also, it's one of 682 Corsas that were built in 66, roughly 682, I think that's the number, that were built in 66 in the Oshawa plant. I think they built around 3,500 altogether, or maybe 3,500 in the States. I'm not exactly sure on the numbers, but I know it's relatively low production for a car that they made 1.9 million between 1960 and 69. I'm not exactly a historian on them, but I have had a bunch of these cars. I was also the president of the Corvair Club for a few years, like 5 or 6 years. I encourage you, if you own a Corvair or if you own another interesting car like that, to you know, something that's off the beaten path, not a Camaro or Chevelle or something that's interesting like that, seek out the clubs. They're really cool. They a lot of them have good events, good bunch of people, and there's a lot to be enjoyed there. So let's take this thing for a ride. It's on high step right now for idle. Just give it a little shot and it'll take the choke pull-offs off. There we go. Still gonna idle a little high because it's still partial choke. My tach is off and my speedometer is off, which is interesting. So my tach reads way high, my speedometer reads way low. It is what it is. The speedometer, I can't really, well, I don't know. I'm gonna have to look into seeing if I can correct that somehow. A lot of that's tire size. The tach, I believe, is just in the gauge itself, and I'll have to replace that. But thanks to my friend Joe in the Corvair Club, he hooked me up with this very nice wood wheel and wood shift knob. Appreciate that. Thanks, Joe. It's making a little noise here where this hub adapter rubs on the column. So that's on my to-do list. I do have a few things left on the to-do list. But it is quite drivable and quite enjoyable at this point. The other thing is horn. I'm gonna have to get in touch with Seth Emerson, and this is one of his adapters. They're really good quality stuff, but in the process of removing it from Joe's car, I think the horn thing came apart, so I'm gonna have to, the horn wire, I'm gonna have to talk to Seth and see if I can get another one. So we'll just head out here. Oh, there we go. Now this car is the 140 horsepower version of this of the Corvair. For Corsas were only made in 65 and 66. This is a 66. An option for the Corsa engines were the turbocharged 180 horsepower or the 140 horsepower 4 carburetor, which is what this one is. I have had a turbo one. This one is just a nice example. It's pretty clean. Original floor pans, which is uncommon for an Oshawa car because usually they're kind of beat up by now. Also, it's pretty good body overall. It's got a couple of spots that are starting to break out, but nothing that I'm too worried about right now. So this tach is reading a little high right now. It's reading at about 3,500, almost 3,500, and it says I'm doing 40 miles an hour. I'm not doing 40 miles an hour, and I'm not doing 3,500 RPM. I've had a bunch of these, so I kind of know that. See, there's no way I'm doing 3,700 right now. Anyways, temperature gauge works. The thermistor on the 140s, the 140s and 180s are the only ones with temperature gauge. Actually, correction, the Spider has a temperature gauge too, and the Spider was from 62 to 64, and that was a turbocharged only. It's pretty quiet passenger compartment. There's a little bit of wind noise here and there, but that's pretty common on these things. This is not, despite what people think, it's not a performance car. It was kind of like a subcompact car in back in its day. 140 horsepower isn't a lot of horsepower. Oh, brakes are a little wet from washing it. I'm not a performance kind of guy, so there's a lot of guys that do these up and set them up for racing. There's not really a race league for these in Canada like there is with the SCCA in the States and stuff like that. So it doesn't really do it for me. There are some people that autocross them. I did that a little bit. It's not really my thing as well, but I just enjoy the car for what it is. It's just a nice driving, comfortable car that it's got no power steering, but you can, you know, palm steer it. It doesn't have power brakes, but it stops fine. It's four-wheel drum. What else can I tell you? The Corsas were manual only. 65 and 66 Corsas were manual only, which is interesting. They came actually factory with a 3-speed standard, and 4-speed was an option. Most of all of them were 4-speeds. This one's a 4-speed. My gas gauge works now, so if you watched one of my other videos where I swapped the tank out, that was kind of interesting. It has a vacuum gauge that works. It's connected to the crossover that goes between the primary carburetors. The clock on this car doesn't work. That's common. The only one I've had that's had that work is one that had a quartz clock, which like an upgrade. The radio does work, but hard to find an AM station around here these days. So another thing about these cars, so they're flat six, horizontally opposed. The Corsas, like I said, have 4 carbs. They're 2 primaries and 2 secondaries. The turbos had 1 carburetor. Most Corvair engines are just 2 carburetors, two primary carburetors, 1 for each side. So this one has secondary, so you can hear it when I get on it. Also, the 140 cars came with factory dual exhaust. If you're looking at a Corsa and you want to tell apart, you know, just from the outside with the deck lid closed, you want to tell apart a turbo from a 140. The 140s came with factory duals, and the turbos had a single exhaust. So see if you can hear the difference in the secondaries. So I'm on primaries now. You can hear it just a little different sound of the engine. It's the other 2 barrels opening up, like a 4-barrel on a V8 car or something like that. You've got your primaries and your secondaries. It's the same thing, it's just 4 carburetors. So what do I have left to do to this car? The horn button bothers me, so I'm gonna have to fix that. It did work when I took it for its safety inspection to put it on the road, because I had the other steering wheel on it, and then I changed it, and it doesn't work now. What else? There's some engine bay insulation that I got to replace that some critters got into. There's a couple little things in the engine bay that I want to clean up, a little bit of wiring. I have a ground cable on it, but it's not the correct ground cable. I don't know if I'm going to worry about that or not. But it's driving great. Suspension's all been replaced. Everything's new on this car, other than the shocks are old. So I may replace the shocks. I'll see what happens. But it's riding pretty good. Springs are all new. Control arms, bushings are new. All the steering stuff, like the tie rod ends and ball joints and all that stuff, is all new. So that's good. It's really just kind of a pleasant car to drive. Headrests, this is an option for 66. This car, I don't believe, was a factory headrest car. I think the previous owner added these headrests. Sometimes some of my cars have had a day-night mirror. That's an option. This one doesn't have that. Push-button radio was an option. Seat belts are an option. This one has black seat belts or GM seat belts, so I'm not sure if that was... I don't think that'd be original to this car. This car is a 66 only color. It's Aztec bronze. Just going to turn down this side road here. Okay, so this car is Aztec bronze. It may look red in the videos, but it's kind of like a coppery brown. It's quite a nice color. It's not everyone's taste. It's not red or black like everyone likes. Wow, I picked a good road. This is where that new suspension helps. These cars, when they're not screwed with too much and they're in stock form, they just work really well. So yeah, I find the closest to stock form is the best. Like, I'm not into the 13-inch tires and stuff like that. Like, I don't care about being that stock. But, you know, it doesn't need disc brakes. It doesn't need a power steering setup. It doesn't need, you know, that sort of thing. There's little tips and things that you can do to improve reliability. Like an electric fuel pump is a good option. I've got that on most of my stuff. This one has both electric and mechanical. It has a little push button down here for like a primer to prime the carbs, fill the bowls before you start it. That's kind of neat. Electronic ignition, that's another thing that you can do. Electronic ignition. There's a bunch of things like that that you can do. Internally regulated alternator is one that I do often. I'll pull the back off a GM alternator from like a small block Chevy, and I will put the Corvair front on it, especially on an early model that was a generator car. I prefer the internally regulated alternators. So I usually do that. This car doesn't have that, but my ramp side has that, and my 64 has that. And I think my son's 65 sedan has that as well. My wagon had it. It's a common thing that I do. I usually always put electronic fuel pumps on it, or electric fuel pumps on it, but my 64 doesn't have one. It's just a preference thing. My ramp side has one. I was on a kick on doing that for a while, because I was having bad luck with aftermarket mechanical fuel pumps. This car has a bunch of little funny things in the engine bay. I guess you would call them reliability or safety improvements, but they're not things that I would typically put on, but because they're on here and they're working, I'm not going to change them. It has an inertia switch to, which is a good idea, and I get it, if you roll over, it stops the fuel, so it stops the fuel pump. That's kind of good. And there's another one in there. I think it's for if you have some sort of accident, or no, if you lose oil pressure. If you lose oil pressure, it'll shut off. That's a good one. So that's interesting. Like I said, I've never done that before on these ones. I've never put that upgrade, but a lot of people do, and I'm fine that this car has it. It's a good idea. It also has the plate that prevents the engine mount from, if the engine mount fails, the engine won't fall. They don't really fall right out of the car anyways, contrary to popular belief. The engines don't fall out. They just, if it fails, it will just sort of sag. I've seen that. I have heard stories about them falling out and hitting the ground. There's a lot of stuff would have to happen for it to be able to fall that far and hit the ground. So it has that. It has longer bolts on the belt pulley, so you can adjust the belt easier. That's kind of handy. I like that. It's a lot of good upgrades. Overall, I'm very happy with this car. I'm very thankful that I had a chance to buy it, and that my friend who had it for quite some time was willing to sell it to me. I really like it. I've already been asked if I'd sell it. I've had a bunch of people tell me that they don't think I'll keep it, but I'm going to keep it. And then I had one or two people ask me if I'd be willing to sell it. And no, I'm not selling it. It's not for sale. So you can save yourself the trouble. I've had a bunch of these cars, and I'm kind of at the point where I can afford to have a few of them. And if you get a good one, you should keep it. It's very uncommon to find one in Canada that doesn't have a whole bunch of rust repair underneath, and so I'm quite thankful that this one doesn't. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed my ride in the 66 Corsa. Let me know if you like this kind of video. I'm not really working on stuff right now because it's summertime and I'm enjoying stuff. My truck isn't here. I will do an update on that. It's getting a little bit of work done. It's getting an alignment. I'm going to take it on a big trip, my wife and I. So there'll be getting some stuff ready for that. Also, I'm going to take my ramp side out and use it tomorrow for a local car show. It hasn't been out in a while. I'm not going to be taking my wagon anywhere anytime soon because it's only half a car. Thanks for watching. Check out my other videos. There's a lot of videos on all my Corvair stuff, and there's a lot of videos on all my stuff. So if you like them, please share them with your friends, and let me know what you think. Let me know if you guys want to see me drive some more of my cars.